In the latest episode of this series, we explored the remarkable heritage of Eie Marowitz, a house where vision is not merely corrected, but elevated to an art form. But understanding the legacy is only half the story. Just outside London, tucked behind an unassuming facade on an island in the middle of the Thames, Meyrowitz's small team of artisans is quietly creating some of the world's finest eyewear. And today, we've been invited by Jamie to step behind the curtain into the very heart of the craft to watch their artisans at work. This is not a process that can be rushed, nor should it be. More than 28 individual stages are involved in the creation of every pair of glasses, from cutting, shaping, sanding, polishing, and mounting the hardware, all executed entirely by hand. Depending on the design, a single pair may take an entire week to build. And so today, we'll be following this process up close, because in a world increasingly driven by mass production and disposability, it's here, in quiet workshops like this, where quality, craftsmanship, and tradition flourish. Wow, this is so much more beautiful and idyllic than I even expected.
It's really beautiful, it's really beautiful. We are on an island in the middle of the Thames. It's called Platziot.
Okay.
Beautiful little island, especially in the summertime. Birds chirping. Sunshine,
Yeah.
trees in full bloom. Not only is the island beautiful, it's also got a lot of heritage.
Okay.
The first submarine boats were built here.
Really?
For the war, down at the naval yard at the bottom of the island. So, the place is steeped in history, which is something we like a lot.
And so is this where all of the work is done for you?
Yes, exactly.
Right here?
The majority of the work is done right behind us. And I'll be taking you around to see exactly what's going to be done to your commission.
Okay.
We have your frame, your head measurements, all the notes for the build right here. What we'll see them doing today is a few of the major major points of time that is dedicated to the frame build.
Yeah.
We're going to see them cut. We're going to see them sand, polish, and maybe if we're lucky, some extra little bits here and there.
How many steps are involved approximately, from start to finish?
Well, I think, if you look at each little detail of the frame and each sort of part of sort of component of the actual piece, we sort of sum it up to around 28.
Okay.
But in reality, you can bring that
more,
down. You can bring that up depending on how granular you want to be about counting. Bottom line, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And so I guess in some ways it's almost like a bespoke pair of shoes, with the last baking giving more dimensionality and shape to the shoe than what you could ever achieve in the factory.
Yes.
I mean, here you not only have that in the sanding and the shaping of the frame,
of course,
but also the shape of the frame itself, like the bowing that you were describing.
The bowing around the temples is very important, and that needs to be individually looked at. Everyone's head is going to be different, and everyone's sensitivity is going to be different.
Yeah.
Remember when we took the measurements behind your ears? That's going to be a big component in how tight, how bowed those temples are.
Interesting.
So yes, we're going to be looking at all those little things and seeing how those little decisions that we make at the boutique is going to come across in the work behind us.
Okay.
I've got the piece of material we're going to be using for your cut.
Oh, look at that.
It's that lovely blue colour that we picked out. Got a nice little movement within it. It sort of almost replicates a blue horn, if there were such a thing.
If there were such a thing.
So very nice. I thought I'd show you a few other sort of pieces while you're here. We talked about exotic woods when we were back. And
you can do glasses out of exotic woods.
Well, the funny thing is we don't like wood as a material. As a house, we don't like it. But when you laminate this wood to black buffalo horn, it suddenly takes the structural properties of buffalo horn.
Okay.
It's light as opposed to wood, which is heavy. It can curve as opposed to wood, which is
it's almost like it's like a thick veneer. I mean,
exactly.
It's not like...
So the wood was just going to be a very thin veneer on any frame that we base it to. So why don't we go? I know Alex is dying to show us what he's been getting on with in relation to your frame. Shall we take a look?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. We have Alex here. Alex is our head craftsman.
Hi, Alex.
And here we are cutting out your front.
Okay.
So
this is the first step once You know, kind of once the pattern's been made,
once the pattern's
then it's
been
starting
made,
to cut out the pieces.
Exactly. Alex is going to work out the hinge types that we're going to be using, all the metalware. We're going to print out that design and stick it to our material, and then start on the cut.
Okay.
You can see the little annotations, you know, outside of the main design, and this is to indicate, you know, tolerances.
Okay.
Where we might want the frame a little bit more barreled, a bit more curved, and where we're going to be placing the hinges.
Yeah.
You can imagine we have all sorts of different hinges,
all
different sizes. So some will be more appropriate to certain builds than others.
Okay. Yeah.
It's obviously important to know before you start cutting. The curvature of the temples is, you know, drawn out because it's a really important consideration.
Okay.
You know, in a few places, but most importantly, at the back of the lugs.
Okay.
What I mean by that is the angle at which the temple, the side, attaches to the front will really govern how wide that arch comes out.
Okay.
You cut it more away from the back of the lug, the temple is going to become a little bit more wide. You cut a little less, and the temple is going to be 90 degrees or less.
Okay.
So yes, you know, in terms of curving around the head, it's super important.
And these are all of those nuanced elements that really impact comfort.
Exactly. And you know, as much as we're trying to make something that looks aesthetically beautiful, as we said at the boutique, we want something that fits and feels wonderful around the head.
Yeah.
Whatever material we're using to make the frame. So if we take a look back at you know, where we are with the frame now, the frame has actually been cut out from the material. So we now have the basis of, you know, this shape. And from this, we see just a very raw first understanding of where the frame is going.
Yeah.
And what we'll begin to do, and what Alex has probably even started doing, is smoothing out the contours of the frame to get rid of all those jagged edges that have been made by the initial cut.
Yeah.
And as a result, every millimetre really does matter.
Okay.
And we talked about widening your bridge earlier in the boutique.
Yeah.
And you know, the difference between that bridge sitting nicely on you and maybe a little proud and high will be the difference between 2 millimetres.
Really?
So you can imagine checking very carefully at each step. Everything we do is tantamount to actually making a frame which is not only beautiful and fits right, but you know, fits correctly around
properly.
all the. If you make a small error, it's almost impossible to come back at that stage. But you know, we want to make sure everything's just right. With Guilherme now, Kirby.
Okay. Hi there.
And we're on to stage after we've made the cut and filed down all the jagged edges, or shaved down the jagged edges. And what Guilherme is doing here is continuing, just smoothing that frame, or some temples he's working on here.
Okay.
And we'll begin to start lightly sanding the piece down.
Okay. And so this is where, you know, that flat, kind of rigid square corner is beginning to be shaped.
Exactly. And we talked a lot about barreling earlier at the boutique. How the frame, the top line, bottom line, the sort of hard edges of the frame are curved. And that's what Guilherme is doing. So all the notes on our work page, you know, our design, is intended just to translate exactly what sort of finish we want, what sort of aesthetic we want. Once we finish the sort of sanding, then we really need to move on to the polish. And this is the longest process in the whole build.
Okay.
And you can see that this will take an enormous amount of time, taking the frame from a matte, unpolished finish to that beautiful sort of finish, that polished finish that you see here in front of you. So this is a partially polished frame here.
Okay. You can really kind of see the difference right here.
You see how it changes, And here we have something which is fully finished, a finished polish. And this is in that beautiful tortoiseshell coloured horn.
Wow, that's spectacular.
And you can see that the level of that polish, how it really jumps out, and how beautiful it looks.
Yeah. And are certain materials, do they demand more polishing than others? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a nuance or a delicacy to the polishing?
Of course. I mean, it really, you can think of it very simply as the harder the material, the more you can polish it.
Okay.
And the better the polish you can get on it.
Really?
The harder you can push on the polishing machine. So it will take Guilherme or Alex or Tiffany a lot less time to be able to polish a piece of horn up perfectly than necessarily its acetate counterpart.
Okay. Even though acetate's a
softer material,
a less expensive material,
yes,
it requires more polishing.
More polish.
So it seems counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive. I mean, it's softer. You can't push it too much because it will snap if you give it the same kind of pressures. And as a result, yes, it takes a long time.
How many hours, just out of curiosity, just on polishing?
Yeah, it can take anywhere between 2 and 5, 2 and 6 hours to get that fully polished finish.
So, I mean, so on a pair of frames, I mean, it's
a huge time.
With your tea breaks, it could be a full day.
It can be a full day.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I thought I'd bring out a piece that we just finished, so you can really admire how that piece really feels, looks, and sort of acts all around.
I mean, it's amazing to see the journey from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
Right, as a rough piece of acetate or horn or whatever it is that you're making.
In this case, yeah.
And then the polished, kind of finished piece is a masterpiece. I mean, this is beautiful. It's brilliant.
Art. Yeah.
And you can see the brilliance of just the polishing, like what you said, the surfaces, the way it reflects light. I mean, even the tolerances with which, it's the hinges attached to the temple.
Exactly that. You look at all the little details on the bridge, all the notches, exactly how this nose pad comes out just to push the frame a little bit further away from the eyelashes.
Yeah.
It's all thought out very carefully. It's all planned and then translated into the build.
I mean, you really see the dimensionality here.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like a high arch.
Of course.
And the hard countering in a bespoke shoe that you would never see in anything ready to wear.
No. There's a lot of differences between what you can make individually and what you can make as a sort of I'd say not even a mass production, but just a production line product. And I think you really see that come across when you see the frame, and when you try the frame on and feel it, how nicely it sits and how nicely it feels. You'll see something here, a similar piece to the one we're making you, rounded, extremely barreled. See how that light pours over the top line?
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's almost spherical.
Spherical, yes, exactly. It feels lovely, doesn't it? Yeah.
Even if you look at the pins right here, kind of how close they are to the frame.
Well, that's it, and it's all it's all thought out, in the planning and design stages, so we can actually keep that pin, close to the lens, but not intrude on that.
Yeah.
On that.
And right here we see much less shape, on the kind of the nose piece.
Exactly.
Right, the bridge. And is that just by virtue of the fact that this client didn't need as much support?
We don't want to add extra support where it's not necessary. Where you can have a balance behind the ears and the nose without using nose pads, we find that a lot easier for the client to take. When you don't have long eyelashes or cheekbones which are full and need to be modelled around or pushed the frame forward, you don't need a huge amount of padding. Yeah. And it's exactly this piece that doesn't.
That's fascinating.
So yes. But yes.
And again, the polishing here, I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, you see how just spending that much time on the frame, at the wheel, polishing, round and round, you get this beautiful effect.
I mean, this is such a great example of how much, how there's so much more than what meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely.
And I couldn't have anticipated, all the different facets of the work that go into the creation of a pair of eyeglasses.
Oh, absolutely.
Just by visiting the atelier back in the Royal Arcade.
Yes, that's it. And there's so many different options that you can go down. So many different finishes, so many different styles. Yeah. It is a rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, this is where it gets fun.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Well, Jamie, thank you so much.
And thank you
what a
for
rare
popping
privilege to have been invited out to the workshop for
thank
showing
you.
me the incredible examples of craft that you practice at Eie Marowitz. And I have to say, it's only gotten me even more excited for my pair of my own glasses from Eie Marowitz.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing you not too long to show you what we've finished for you. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Absolutely.
Jamie, thank you.
See you soon.
Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.
There's something profoundly grounding about stepping into a space where every detail is shaped by hand, every decision made with intention. In a world that often celebrates speed, here at Eie Marowitz, time is the true luxury. Watching bespoke frames come to life, cut by hand, shaped with precision, polished to perfection, has been a rare privilege. As with a fine suit or a well-aged cigar, the beauty lies in the details, the unseen hours, the skilled hands, and the philosophy that guides it all. And that's what Eie Marowitz has offered for over a century. Not just eyewear, but enduring craftsmanship rooted in tradition and elevated by excellence. Next time, we return to London to collect my completed frames and experience the final fitting, where form, function, and craftsmanship finally come together.